Welcome back to Veterans Forum. I'm here with Rebecca Jennings, and we're going to move on to our second part of the interview. And we're going to talk about legal. If a veteran finds himself in any type of situation, what kind of options are available for him, whether it's criminal, whether it's for his appeal? What can, the legal system do for the veteran?
Sure. So there are several different legal options. If they are in being criminal charges and things like that, the court system here in Massachusetts has advocates that are available that advocate for veterans on their behalf during the whole legal system.
Okay.
But if they're just looking for like general information and they're not in court and they're just they're kind of curious on like certain topics, they can contact what's called Boston Bar Association. They have a veterans initiative in which they started many years ago to be able to help veterans with non-criminal legal needs.
Okay.
So if there is child support modifications, alimony, child custody, pending divorce. Nobody wants to think about that,
No,
but
it's a reality.
if the creditors are calling them and they're having credit issues, they can call health care proxy, foreclosure, bankruptcy, even denial of veteran benefits.
Okay.
They can call and ask for a representative. So they do it at a sliding scale. So it's not like you're just walking into a lawyer's office. These lawyers are specifically dealing with veteran issues, and especially when it comes to the VA claims, they specifically are trained and they know all the legal
A lot
terms.
of, again, details.
So Boston Bar Association Veteran Initiative is, I would ask them to Google that, and it comes up the phone number. I have the phone number in my office too.
Okay, great. And the Guards and Reserves. Tell us a little bit about.
So the Guard and Reserve are a little unique. So they have certain protections that protect them. Active duty does too. But they have the Servicemen's Civil Relief Act. So under this law, they are protected from the day that they enter into active duty until about 90 days after they leave the military. And this law gives them the ability to reduce their credit, their credit cards to 6%, their loans to 6%. And it also gives them the ability, if they have a lease that they need to terminate because they are going on deployment and there's nobody going to be in the house, not for a year, and there's no reason for them to pay for rent if they're deployed. There's also certain rights for reemployment, and that's the biggest thing is what happened before this law came in effect. Troops are being deployed overseas, and they're coming back to no jobs.
And no rights.
And no rights.
Nothing.
They served their country, and then that was it. So this Servicemen's Relief Act, it gives them the ability and it protects them and their ability to, to know some comfort that while they're deployed, they are not held responsible for certain things, and they can be able to reduce their credit cards and legal issues that are pending. They can wait until they get back and all sorts of stuff. And
come back to possibly their life again.
Their
civilian life.
And they do have what's called family assistance centers that are located throughout Massachusetts, that they have family center coordinators that work hand in hand with our National Guard and our families, so that are currently serving. So I often refer them over to those folks.
The military support centers, Okay, and the Military Family Relief Fund.
So this is pretty. This is a pretty cool thing, actually. So there's a volunteer tax check box. It's called Question 32E. It's on the Massachusetts State Income Tax Form.
Okay.
So what this is, it gives folks the ability to donate directly to our military here in the state of Massachusetts. Pretty awesome.
It
so
is.
they can choose to be able to donate $5, $10, whatever they want to do.
That's, and again, every little bit helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
And this money goes directly to the National Guard and Reserve, and even to the fallen. The money has been known to buy Christmas presents for those that have lost their service member because in the line of duty. And this is all ran by the Military Friends Foundation. They're the ones that actually are in charge of this whole process.
So when we do our taxes, maybe take a little
32E is what you want to check off.
32E. All right, and we have a little thing called the Purple Heart.
And we just had the Purple Heart
At the-
associated
At the
memorial.
parade, yes. That was, very, very emotional,
So they are, they're men and women that have suffered wounds during the military in combat. And so they receive a Purple Heart from the Department of Defense. But this organization in particular is folks that really want to support the people that have suffered these wounds, and they go above and beyond, and they donate just countless hours of volunteers to be able to help with all sorts of things. They donate so much time at the VA that it serves that the VA doesn't have to provide 133 staff members full time, because the Purple Heart Association are volunteering in and out of these VA facilities so much that
they're giving their time, their
time
heart,
and
their heart
everything.
and soul.
They have some pretty neat initiatives. They have the Americanism program that works with schools and organizations to help promote U.S. history and quest for freedom. They also have the ROTC, and youth programs.
Yeah.
So the Purple Heart Association, if you're going to donate to an organization, this is a great organization to donate.
It's they just don't hand them a medal and say thank you.
Right,
There's
they
a lot
are
of,
out there.
behind the scenes, helping and. Okay, great. Now the outreach programs for our veterans for
Afghanistan and Iraq.
Afghanistan and Iraq. They're
So, again, can't live in a better state than Massachusetts. We would be here all day if I named all the outreach programs that are here.
right.
The two biggest ones are through the Department of, through the VA, and then Home Base. Home Base is the Red Sox Foundation, in which they work, they work with all veterans, but they have an outreach for Afghanistan and Iraq, and we've had them on Veterans Forum before. And they are a great organization that provides mental health awareness, PTSD, TBIs, physical disabilities. So they work with these veterans to be able to help them, their families adjust to coming back from war, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, and they get to run across home plate.
Yes. And then the VA outreach is, there's a phone number, it's 1-866-606-8216. And then this is for the National Guard and Reserve, if they wanted to learn about their VA benefits, healthcare benefits, and enrollment procedures. But a lot of our National Guard and Reserves are the ones that are really going over to Afghanistan and Iraq.
Right.
They've been mobilized. Most folks that I know that are in the National Guard and Reserve been mobilized 5-8 times.
Yeah.
Easily since 9/11.
And it's going to continue, sadly.
Yep.
Okay, now on to the big part of our veterans is health benefits. and
So we
just-
kind of talked about it a little bit earlier
Mhm.
in the first segment, but one of the questions that I always get all the time in my office is aid and attendance. My mom, my dad, they're getting older.
Mhm.
They have dementia. They are going blind. They have difficulties moving around the house.
Mhm.
You know,
Can't take care of themselves.
No.
Yeah.
So this is a time that maybe you might want to consider if their assets are less than $75,000. And I'm not talking about a home. I'm talking about CDs, IRAs, savings, and things like that. This might be a time to be able to step in and to see if the VA be willing to help pay for either someone to come into the home or for them to go into assisted living. And this is really for people that are unable to do daily activities, like they can't bathe themselves, they can't feed themselves, they can't dress themselves. They stay in the bed all day. These are the folks that we're looking
forgetful.
at.
Yeah.
If they have a decline of mental and physical disabilities too,
Right.
really we want those folks to be able to get the assistance that they need. So I would encourage people, if they have a mom and dad that are declining, that they need to come in to see if the veteran qualifies for the aid and attendance.
It's important for their well-being too, to know that
Yes.
their family member is getting the help that they need.
Yep.
And, okay. Diseases. Agent Orange. That's the big...
Agent Orange was nasty.
Yeah.
When they sprayed these guys and girls, and it was girls that were affected too, it caused all sorts of skin diseases and cancers and respiratory issues. There is a list of different things that are listed that are recognized through the VA. So they need to go, either they can come to my office to see if the disease they have is connected to Agent Orange and they have to have served in those particular areas. There's a list of different areas, but they have to have served in those exposed areas. And to be able to have, the VA has to recognize one or more of the illnesses for them to be able to connect Agent Orange to their time in service.
To their ailment, yeah.
Yeah.
And
there's a 1-800 number actually for Agent Orange. It's 1-800-749-8387 if they want to learn more about the different ailments about Agent Orange.
yeah, there is a lot to learn and a lot still to come down the road.
Right.
There's also the other health issue is the Gulf War veterans' illnesses they're coming home with. Why don't you give us a little background on...
So the Gulf War illnesses got recognized a few years back, and it was because many of our veterans were coming back from the Southwest Asian theaters when they were in operations from 1990 till even till today. They were coming back with all these mysterious illnesses. They were having problems like with nerves. They were having problems with respiratories, and they couldn't connect it. But it's a disease that the VA finally recognized called Gulf War syndrome, in which if you served in these particular areas and you have some of these illnesses that are listed, the VA will recognize and give you a service-connected disability because of it.
Okay. And also the airborne...
The airborne hazards and open pit registration. So if you served, so I'm going to give you a couple of different ones.
Okay.
So if you served in Southwest Asia Theater after or on August 2nd, 1990, if you are Iraq or Afghanistan, and were in Africa on September 11th, 2001, or if you served in Operation Desert Shield or Desert Storm. What happened is they burned everything. And when I say everything, they burned waste, they burned food, they burned plastic, paint,
The oil, petroleum.
petroleum. They burned all of these chemicals floated up in the air, and these troops were inhaling these chemicals, and they've caused all sorts of respiratory issues and things like that. So they really need, if you serve during that time and you're having all sorts of problems with things, you need to either come to me and we'll take a look at your medical records. Right. But you can also register for the Burn Pit Registry, which is veterans.mobilehealth.va.gov. And that's where I would start for that one.
That'll have a lot of information.
And that'll have a lot of information for them.
Where to go, what the next step would be, and to get them moving on that. The next major topic, if you will, is PTSD.
Yes. Unfortunately, nobody would like to talk about this, but you can't help it. It's all in the media, and unfortunately it happens and it affects our veterans and coming back from deployment. There's all sorts of benefits and resources that are available out there, but the biggest thing is to know that veterans, it depends on the individual, and certain stressful things might trigger their PTSD, but getting them help is an important thing to do. They can get help through the VA, through the clinics that have PTSD clinics, or they can go to our vet centers in which they can talk with a veteran in our vet centers that be able to talk to them about it too.
And it's okay to ask for help.
I would agree. Where to get help if they don't want to go to these two options, I would recommend they call 911 if they're thinking about suicidal tendencies and thoughts. Go to the nearest emergency room. There is also a suicide prevention hotline, which is 1-800-273-8255, and they're manned 24/7. And then there's the Veterans Crisis Line, which is also manned 24/7, and that's 1-800-273-8255, which is the same number as the suicide phone number. 21 veterans.
That's another topic, another issue that is spiraling.
Agreed. Well, we have 21 veterans that commit suicide literally every day. And you saw it on social media, people doing 21 push-ups for 30 days.
Yep.
And that was really just to raise awareness that our veterans are coming back from war, whether they're peacetime veterans or wartime veterans. They're coming back with physical and mental disabilities, and it's causing them all sorts of issues, and they don't know where to go and get help. Some of the factors that could contribute to it is if they are in a financial stress, they're going through a divorce, they lose their friend, maybe they lose their battle buddy when they were deployed.
Yep, they lose their home.
Alcohol, drug abuse, traumatic events, sexual assault.
That's also another topic people don't want to discuss, but it needs to be brought out. And
these are all different things that can trigger someone to start having suicidal thoughts. And once they have it, they really need to start looking into, family and friends need to gather around to be able to help support them. The problem is often said, and even with some of the celebrities that happened recently in the news, is they had no idea that they were thinking suicidal thoughts. And so some people don't know what the warning signs are. So some of the warning signs are hopelessness, feeling like they're burdened, feeling trapped, Sometimes when they start thinking about death, and start thinking about suicide and
Giving away possessions.
they start withdrawing from their family and friends
Right.
and their activities. Maybe they used to go play poker every Friday night. Now they're not doing that anymore. Depression, unable to sleep, increased use of alcohol and drug abuse, mood swings,
Reckless behavior.
reckless behaviors. Those are all telltale signs that some of them combined can lead to suicidal thoughts. So it's important that they go out and they reach out for help.
And better to say something and jump in and help and if they're wrong about it, no, they're not suicidal, but you asked anyway, you were there. They're there,
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is, in the state of Massachusetts, we have what's called the SAVE team, and that's the statewide advocacy for veterans empowerment program. And these folks are phenomenal. So they're all veterans, or they're families of veterans.
Right.
And they go out, and they're located in different little locations throughout Massachusetts.
Okay.
And they go out, and they meet with the veteran and have a cup of coffee with them. And
Something so simple.
something so simple, and they do a check-in. They do their buddy check-ins, and they're like, "Listen, what's going on with you? Do you need someone to talk to?
Yeah.
Like, what can I do for you?"
Right. Here's a cup of coffee. I mean,
And that simple little thing could, turn that veteran's mindset around, and think maybe I do need to talk with somebody.
and know that they're not alone. That there are people out there that will help.
Absolutely.
And to take away that stigma of
And they bring these resources out to the veteran. So the veteran doesn't need to go to a center or a facility.
Right.
Like, these guys are mobile. They go out wherever the veteran is, and they make sure the veteran is being taken
they
care
go
of.
where they're needed.
And that's a resource that's only in Massachusetts again.
Again, Massachusetts. Okay. Other than honorable discharge health care.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
You have to be honorably or under honorable conditions or general in order to get benefits to the VA. If you have anything else, unfortunately, you cannot utilize the VA.
Right.
There is such thing as getting an upgrade with your DD 214. If you feel that your discharge was not warranted,
Right.
and that you have evidence to support that you would like the Army, Marines, or whoever
Any
to be able
branch.
to look at your discharge status and to be able to change it, then you can come to me and we can put in a file paperwork in order to file on your behalf to see if they would be willing to change your upgrade.
Right.
Because unfortunately, without that upgrade to be able to meet these standards, you can't go to the VA.
You can't.
No.
You are able to go to local hospitals or local doctors,
But you
but
can't then be,
there again, it's a
Yeah.
it's a cycle. They can't afford the. I know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
So there is one last topic I believe that we want to talk about.
Yep, and that would be the
Transportation.
transportation assistance to our veterans.
So the transportation, so there's three things we want to talk about for transportation. The first thing would be the reimbursement for travel costs to the VA facility. So they can, if a veteran is going to the VA for medical appointments and they're 30% or higher, or they receive a veteran's pension
Okay.
through the VA, and they live within a certain distance from the VA will step in and reimburse them 41.5 cents.
0.5.
Got to make sure I say this right. Per mile for a deductible of $3 for each one-way trip and a $6 round trip for a max of $18. So I know that means a lot. So basically you can get anywhere between $3 to $18 for reimbursement for gas to travel to the appointment.
Right.
Which is great.
It is.
But they need to make sure that they have to be 30% or higher or VA pension in order to be eligible for that. The other way would be if you are going to the VA to apply for a compensation, a VA compensation, and you're doing your physical, then you can be able to apply for that option too.
To be reimbursed.
Yeah.
And a lot of the, on an aside note, a lot of the hospitals, Mass General, I know from my personal experience, they do have programs that help with parking or with transportation, getting you into the hospitals if you can't afford it, or you can't get, you're not eligible for the VA hospital and you need to go to like a Mass General. So it's good to check to see what benefits are available in those areas too.
Now the other transportation is the Massachusetts Veterans Transition Coalition. What Massachusetts did is they developed this coalition with Department of Human Services, the Veteran Services, and the Office of Health and Human Services, and Elder Affairs, and the Department of Transportation. So all of these folks, they got together and they said, you know what, there is an issue with our veterans, and it needs to be addressed. Right. These veterans can't go back and forth to appointments. Some towns have the ability to have vehicles for transportation.
Right.
And some vans, unfortunately, towns, they don't.
Right.
So these veterans are getting stuck. And so the coalition comes together and they help with these resources. So they have a phone number that folks can call if they need help. It's 617-847-3784. Then, of course, there is GATRA. If folks aren't able to get to their appointment, they can call GATRA. Right. And GATRA has the ability to, there's sliding scales you can apply for, different.
For transportation.
For transportation.
Yes. So, like.
Well, we came to the end, and I know that we talked about quite a bit of resources and benefits that are entitled to veterans. We will be doing a part 3, in which we'll be talking about education benefits and scholarships that folks can tune into.
Which is important, as well as the financial benefits and health benefits, get them back.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on my show and interviewing me today.
Thank you.
I'm sure you learned a lot.
I did. It's a bit overwhelming for me, so I can only imagine what our men and women are going through to get through all of this.
And that's why they have somebody like me.
That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and stay tuned. We'll have part 3 here in another month. Have a good day.